Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He had bumped into the captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki Inugai's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain if the boy in front of him was the real deal, with his mouth covered in packing tape. Also, with his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook his momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot, with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. But upon hearing Orishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going that direction. He then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Oishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option. But he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through a short thicket, branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed at him, small scratches inscribing themselves on his body one after another. He kept on stepping into puddles and mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, traveling through this unexplored forest was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as it was but a waste of breath. There wasn't a thief in the world who would positively stop when told to by the police. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realizing that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him. We're running in the same conditions. In fact, the man running with an awkward stride was at a far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon his wish was fulfilled. The man who had stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy, dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all. Just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Inugai. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. But it seemed that Toshiki Inugai was important to the man as well, and didn't choose to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should probably be to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on, but most likely, it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of indecision proved to be fatal. The man aiming right between, or rather for both of Akasaka's eyes, struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his hands to shield his face. At that moment, the man kicked his unguarded midsection. The pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body, but he latched onto his opponent's leg. But his opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances would he letting that leg go. The two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position, was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about, trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka, who was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, who was still latched onto his leg and couldn't move away. and pounded full force on his head with both his fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Ow! Ow! Sounds painful. The whack, the whack, the whack. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head. But if he let go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. Still, you should probably try to stop getting hit in the head. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, then it was goodbye to this freakish village. Ow. Without looking, I could tell my forehead had split open and was gushing blood. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I won't let go. When the man realized that no matter how much he beat my head, it wasn't getting away, he used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush my windpipe. I pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was of no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as it was choking so hard I felt like I was going to throw up. It felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out. But I could only endure it. No, you don't understand. Holding onto his leg is not a victory if he manages to knock you out. Dang it, dang it, dang it! My throat hurts. I won't let go. I can't let go. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Go back to Tokyo and talk to Yuki all about our unborn child. We were going to talk about our bright future. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit. The man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible, and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning, and I was unable to get up right away. No, I couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, this chance would never come again. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over the head with. Now it's my turn. The rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough power to my attack. My fist still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. It seems like it hurt him quite a bit. The man rolled around for a bit, clutching his side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. To the boy, those are the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That was because even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and had taken a fighting stance. I could see it in the man's eyes, the resentment at the pain I'd caused him, and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash head-on again, he might not even stop if my head were split open. This is the police! Man, you sound cool, Akasaka. The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That was because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just a waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realizing that, the man shifted mental gears almost too quickly. Man, you should have seen that coming. What the man pulled from his back pocket was, of all things, a gun. Of course, I'm a police officer. It's not like I don't know what a gun is. But having one pointed at me was something I'd never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There's no way it'd be a replica in a situation like this.
おとなしく両手を頭の上で組んでそこにうつ伏せになるんだよ。
図に乗るな悪党。誰がお前に従うか。
クソバカが。撃たれなきゃこいつの恐ろしさがわからねえかよ。
なら撃ってみろ。貴様の忠誠で応援がここに駆けつけるぞ。
バカが。森の中でしかもこの雨だぞ。銃声などかき消える。
As long as he still held that gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him and take the boy. That way it was the fastest and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot, meaning that he either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. Oishi was probably on his way, and the reinforcements we called for before coming here should already be on their way too. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that.
クソったれが。撃たれなきゃこいつの怖さがわからねえかよ。
どうせ逃げられやしない。無駄に罪を重ねるな。
At that moment, I heard the rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. If Oishi was coming here, it was a whole new ball game. The man couldn't have had more than one gun.
おいさん、ここです。ここです。
Oh my god, it's not Oishi! I had thought that time was on my side. But I had failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. You could tell the man who had just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him.
何しようと。はよせんとな。警官来るんだ。なん油うっとんしゃん。くそ。おいさんはどうしたってんだ。ああ、あんの樽男かよ。落としたったら泡吹いとる。おいさんが。くそ。
The boy, sensitive to the impending danger, curled up behind my back. How could this be? Dang it!
期待してた相方は来ないってよ。ざまあねえぞ。観念するのはてめえの方だ。
As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun.
2回しか言わない。頭抱えてそこにうつ伏せになるんよ。断る。
God dang it! As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register that I'd been shot. Compared to the ones from in movies and TV dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. It was a fear you knew only after you'd been shot. Oh, I just got shot, kid. The boy, in his confusion, tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect.
大丈夫。すでに応援は要請してあるんだ。すぐに警官隊が駆けつけてくれる。警官が来る前に、お前に額にもっぱつくれちゃる方が早い。無駄な殺生すなっちゅう。本家に言われとんから加減しとん。あんまりなめとんと容赦せんと。
If only we had a gun of our own. This was bad. It was very, very bad. The second man was a completely different beast than the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot, he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody like that a man like me could buy time from. I really hated to admit it, but at that moment, The image of Yuki's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself not to throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course, I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life with Yuki and wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life for some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical juncture in my own life? Ah, dang it, dang it! I needed to stop rambling at myself. So what do I do now? Give up the boy and extend my own life? What a good idea. Everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. Ah, dang it, it hurts, it hurts. If I'd known it would be this painful, I wouldn't have played the tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I had imagined. If it was only that loud, it'd be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear.
くそ待てよ待ってくれよ死にたくないよ
あんこっちだって死なせとうない
See, now he sounds kind of like Battler, doesn't he?
分かればええん分かれば
撃つなよ撃つなよ帰りを待ってる妻がいるんだ死にたくないんだよ
叫ばんとでも歌んねおとなしゅう頭抱えてうつ伏せになったら歌んだるね
本当だろうな本当だろうな約束は守れよ絶対だぞ男と男の約束だぞ
守った男と男の約束しやよ
守れよ守れよじゃあうつ伏せになるからななるからな約束守るんだから銃を向けるのやめろよやっぱ撃つ気なんだろ撃つ気なんだろ俺が撃つ伏せになったら後頭部を撃つ気なんだろ
歌んね歌んねわーったしまってる銃はしまってる男と男の約束しやねえどんねこれなら文句ないんて
Yeah, there we go.
文句ないですよ
It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Oishi didn't let his chance slip by. Oishi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men. But since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Oishi's face indicating that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. Oishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what had happened, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Oishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. That man was the one that was wrestling with Oishi at the moment. He might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Oishi kicked the other man away, while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With guns akimbo, he was aiming at both men at the same time.
大手飛車取りってとこですかね
It was perfectly played. But heedless of the guns pointed at them, the men shouted scram as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Oishi, quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pocket.
あいつらもよく知ってるな。
何をですか
逃げてる背中を警官は撃てませんからね。私も退職金が惜しいもんで。
Oishi and I grinned at each other.
君が犬飼俊樹君？犬飼検察大臣のお孫さん？
はい。
これはでかい事件になるかな。どうせトカゲの尻尾切りになるんでしょうけどね。
Oishi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance, or rather the Sonozaki family behind them, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. And with apologies to Oishi, this incident was unlikely to go public. This caused an uproar. It would obviously lead to the minister losing his office, with HQ having decided that doing so was in the national interest. This would probably be cleaned up quietly. It might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows, and it was going to die in the shadows. Oishi probably already understood the implications behind this incident.
とにかく非常線を張らせましょう。連中まだ一丁は拳銃を持ってるようですからね。それから犬飼君を保護して赤坂さんはすぐに病院に行かないと。
As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully, and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realized that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound, without a doubt. There would probably be an investigation on the men who ran, but that was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we had cleared the major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. I don't know. You're still in the middle of who knows where, so you're probably gonna die. As soon as I recognized that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by a power failure. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant, even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Oishi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. That was the last thing I ever saw. Ooh. Well, that went better than I thought, to be honest. I didn't think we were actually going to find the kid. In fact, honestly, I sort of expected us to run into more spooky things. But yeah, mission accomplished. And it looks like we've got one new tip. A very kind person. Patients admitted to the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. That's why she wouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday she had teased him that he got lonely easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. That was much easier to imagine, rather than he might just be too busy to call. Because he's just that type of person. Yuki, whispering that, smiled to herself. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital's intercom, along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her. Probably eager for his mother to be discharged, their small child was wearing a beaming smile. That child's mother was pregnant in the bed next to mine, with what may be their new brother or sister. They were probably ready to burst with the expectations, dreams, and worries of having a new sibling. The joys of a growing family. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. I had talked to them about how many children we wanted to have. We talked about how, if we had 3, it would certainly be lively. However, there was the inescapable worry of whether I would be able to handle giving birth that many times.
でもそんなことを不安に思って出産を嫌う母なんていないですものね。
Yuki, smiling as she said that to herself, gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division. That place where the man's sense of justice had led him. That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. He didn't talk much about the specifics, but I didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But As long as he said he was going to try his best, I would watch over him warmly.
あなたのお父さんはね、とっても頑張り屋さんなのよ。こちょこちょこちょこちょ。
Yuki seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. At that moment, Yuki suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time. Long ago, she remembered that when she was little, around this time in the countryside where her grandmother lived, the Higurashi would fill the air with their chorus. This was the middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of the Higurashi. But for some reason, at that moment, Yuki felt she wanted to hear that song. Probably because her husband's about to die or something. Alright, so that was about 2 hours. Ooh, man. A bit longer than I expected, but I guess we succeeded. We are, of course, still out in the middle of nowhere. We've still got to travel through Hinamizawa to get out. Maybe we're going to go to Irie's clinic. Maybe. I don't know. Presumably we need to get the boy, like, out of, like, back to Tokyo, right? Or at least get him headed that way. So, I could see the way, like, coming back being not good. Pretty bad, actually. Especially considering that we're, I would say, seriously injured. Is getting shot in the shoulder a serious injury? I don't know if I would call it a grave injury. I mean, complications could certainly lead to that, but it's definitely serious, at least, right? You know? Infection, blood loss, all that. But I guess we'll have to pick up on that next time. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for some more Higurashi. Bye!